The vanishing Lynette Culver disappears from Pocatello. Pocatello, Idaho, a town where life moved at a slower pace. Children played freely in the streets, their laughter echoing through the neighborhoods. Neighbors knew each other by name, and a sense of community was strong. But on May 6, 1975, this peaceful existence was shattered. 12-year-old Lynette Culver vanished, gone without a trace, leaving her family and friends in a state of shock and disbelief. Lynette was last seen during her lunch break at Alameda Junior High School, a place where she felt safe and surrounded by friends. Witnesses reported seeing her board a bus heading towards Fort Hall. Why? No one knew. It was a mystery that puzzled everyone. This simple question would haunt investigators and the community for years to come. Days turned into weeks, and the search efforts grew more desperate. The search for Lynette intensified, with volunteers and police scouring every possible location, but hope dwindled with each passing hour. Flyers with her smiling face were posted on every street corner, a constant reminder of the young life stolen. The community was relentless in their efforts to find her. The community held its breath, united in grief and desperate for answers. Candlelight vigils were held and town hall meetings were filled with concerned citizens hoping for a breakthrough. Whispers and shadows, a community gripped by fear. The air was thick with tension, and every shadow seemed to hold a secret. Fear settled over Pocatello like a shroud, enveloping every corner and crevice of the town. Parents clutched their children a little tighter, their eyes darting nervously around, searching for unseen threats. The once familiar streets now seemed menacing, hiding unseen dangers in every dark corner and shadowy alleyway. The boogeyman, once a figment of childhood nightmares, had become all too real, lurking in the minds of both young and old. Lynette's disappearance left a void in the community, a gaping wound that refused to heal. It was a stark reminder of the vulnerability of innocence, a chilling testament to the fragility of safety. The carefree spirit of the town was replaced by an unsettling unease. Rumors spread like wildfire, each more terrifying than the last. Theories were debated in hushed tones. Was Lynette kidnapped? Did she run away? Or was there something even more sinister at play? The lack of answers only fueled the growing sense of dread, leaving the community in a state of perpetual anxiety. The once tight-knit community found itself fractured by suspicion and fear, bonds of trust unraveling with each passing day. Neighbors looked at each other with distrust, their once friendly exchanges now replaced by wary glances and closed doors. The thought that someone among them could be responsible for such a heinous act was almost too much to bear, a heavy burden on the hearts of all. A familiar face of evil, the specter of Ted Bundy. As the investigation into Lynette's disappearance dragged on, a chilling thought began to creep into the minds of investigators. A name whispered in hushed tones: Ted Bundy. Bundy, a charismatic yet deeply disturbed individual, was already notorious. His reign of terror stretched across multiple states. Young women, often with long dark hair parted down the middle, were his preferred targets. Lynette sadly fit the profile. Although Bundy's confirmed crimes had not yet reached Idaho, his presence loomed over the investigation like a dark cloud. Could he be responsible for Lynette's disappearance? The possibility was too horrifying to ignore. A mother's anguish, hope fades with each passing season. For Lynette's mother, the pain was unbearable. Each day that passed without her daughter was an eternity. The empty chair at the dinner table, the silence in Lynette's room served as constant reminders of her absence. Years turned into a decade. Hope, once a flickering flame, began to fade. Still, Lynette's mother refused to give up. She clung to the belief that one day, somehow, her daughter would return home. The uncertainty was its own torture. Not knowing Lynette's fate was a heavy burden to bear. The thought that she might be out there, scared and alone, was almost too much to bear. Section 5, Echoes of Terror. Other missing girls in Pocatello. As the years passed, Pocatello was haunted by more disappearances. The town, once known for its close-knit community and serene landscapes, was now overshadowed by a growing sense of dread. Each case bore a chilling resemblance to Lynette's. The patterns were unmistakable and the similarities were too eerie to ignore. Young girls vanishing without a trace, their fates unknown. Families were left in anguish, clinging to hope but fearing the worst. The community was living a nightmare. Candlelight vigils and prayer meetings became a common sight as the townspeople sought solace and answers. The disappearances fueled a growing fear that a serial predator was stalking their streets. The once safe neighborhoods were now patrolled by anxious parents and vigilant neighbors. The thought sent shivers down the spines of parents and kept children awake at night. Stories of the missing girls became cautionary tales whispered among friends. The disappearances were too similar to be coincidental. Detectives worked tirelessly, piecing together clues that seemed to lead nowhere. The victims, all young and vulnerable, seemed to vanish into thin air. Search parties combed through forests and fields, but their efforts were in vain. The authorities were left grasping at straws, no closer to finding the answers that had eluded them for so long. Frustration and despair were palpable in the air. The once peaceful town of Pocatello was now trapped in a web of fear. The sense of security that once defined the town was shattered. The disappearances served as a constant reminder of the evil that lurked in the shadows. The community's spirit was tested, but their resolve to find the truth remained unbroken. Section 6: Bundy's Reign of Terror, a trail of shattered lives. Meanwhile, Ted Bundy's reign of terror continued. He left a trail of shattered lives across state lines, his charm masking a cold and calculating predator. His crimes, each more horrific than the last, shocked a nation. Bundy preyed on the innocent, using his charisma to disarm his victims. He often posed as an authority figure, someone in need of help, luring unsuspecting young women into his traps. His methods were cunning, his motives chillingly incomprehensible. The nation watched in horror as Bundy's crimes came to light. His ability to blend in, to appear normal, sent chills down the spines of those who followed his case. He was a monster hiding in plain sight. Section 7: Justice at last. Bundy's capture and death sentence. Finally, after years of evading capture, Bundy was apprehended. His trial, a media sensation, captivated the nation. He was convicted and sentenced to death for his heinous crimes. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Bundy maintained his innocence. He reveled in the attention, playing the role of a victim of circumstance. His arrogance and lack of remorse only deepened the public's disgust. Even behind bars, Bundy remained a dangerous and manipulative individual. He continued to deny his crimes, even as his execution date loomed closer. But justice, though delayed, was inevitable. Section 8: A confession from death row. Bundy breaks his silence. In the final days before his execution, Bundy's demeanor changed. He agreed to a series of interviews, confessing to a string of murders that spanned across several states. His confessions were chillingly detailed, painting a gruesome picture of his crimes. He spoke of his victims with a chilling detachment, as if recounting a mundane event. His words sent shockwaves throughout the nation. Among the names he confessed to taking was Lynette Culver's. Section 9: The Horror Revealed. Bundy's chilling account of Lynette's fate. Bundy's confession to Lynette's murder was as calculated as his crimes. He claimed to have spotted her outside her school, her innocence making her an easy target. He lured her into his car with a fabricated story, his charm masking his sinister intentions. He drove Lynette to a secluded area where he committed his horrific act. He described the murder in graphic detail, sparing no gruesome detail. His words sent chills down the spines of seasoned investigators. Bundy claimed to have disposed of Lynette's body in the Snake River, her remains lost to the currents. It was a confession that brought a semblance of closure, yet also reopened old wounds. Section 10: A community haunted. The lasting impact of Bundy's crimes. Bundy's confession, while bringing a degree of closure, did little to ease the pain for Lynette's family and the community of Pocatello. The knowledge that such a monster had walked among them, preying on their children, left an indelible scar on their collective psyche. The town that once prided itself on its safety and innocence was forever changed. The fear that had gripped Pocatello for so long would linger in the shadows, a constant reminder of the vulnerability of life. Lynette's case and the other unsolved disappearances served as a chilling reminder that even in the most idyllic of settings, evil could lurk. Section 11. Unanswered questions. The search for closure continues. Despite Bundy's confession, many questions remain unanswered. His account of Lynette's murder, while detailed, lacked the specifics that could lead to the recovery of her remains. The search for concrete evidence continues. Lynette's case, like so many others linked to Bundy, is a stark reminder of the devastating impact of violence and the importance of seeking justice for victims. It is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, but also a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within seemingly ordinary individuals. The search for Lynette's remains continues to this day, fueled by the hope that one day she can be brought home to rest.